What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Opendoor. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what's moving it, and go over everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So Opendoor is down 2.13%, 688 the low, 723 the high, and 10 million shares being traded. So another day, low volume kind of stuff. As I mentioned in my video yesterday, there is a bigger rotation that is starting to occur. So big money is leaving both crypto and equity to go back into money markets. So right now we're sitting at all-time high numbers because there is a certain level of kind of risk in the broader market, and a lot of that is stemming from kind of some points that Powell recently mentioned in addition to this. So I know we just concluded a shutdown, but potentially as of January 31st 2026 we might be having another one. So there is a 43% probability of that occurring. So the market doesn't really like that. Plus we had a lot of big tech and AI stocks putting out their earnings recently, and people don't really like them. So most recently you did have Broadcom, and then a day prior you did have Oracle. So at the end of the day, that's a couple of things that's really affecting the broader market. In Opendoor's case, despite you having Goolsby kind of hinting at more than one or multiple cuts in 2026, you actually do see institutions selling Opendoor, which is very, very odd. So these are all the transactions occurring on the secondary market above $100,000. As I mentioned, we are seeing kind of low volume, but still looks like institutions are selling. You do have one buy for $199,000. Everything else is a sell. Dark pool, you see a lot of transactions right over here. Hedge funds seem to be fairly active today, and given the fact that shorts aren't really doing that much, it is fair to assume that most of these are linked to hedge funds. And again, as I kind of signaled, shorts aren't really doing that much. They are returning about 2,000 shares. So they're pretty quiet today. 14.1% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 110.38 million shares overall are being shorted. Still see some signs of naked shorting occurring. So there's about 79.61 million shares on loan, 110 being shorted. So math doesn't always jive. So it'll be very interesting to see the next round of FTDs once that is available. But definitely shows that there's some sketchiness happening behind the scenes. Looking at Opendoor though, for today, there really hasn't been all that much in news. Last news did come out November the 21st. So they've gone kind of radio silent, merely at the mercy of the broader market. And this is something I've kind of mentioned about Opendoor. I think they're trying to do that just to change Wall Street's perception of them. So get away from the whole cult-like mentality and thought pattern. Same with it being just a kind of meme stock. So they're trying to make Wall Street see it as a good, credible company. And I think even though it might cause a little bit of pain, I think long term that should be fairly advantageous. And the reason why I say it might cause some pain is in a momentum stock, meme play, or even cult, you need constant updates. And we haven't really been getting them from CAS or from the company itself. So this is why you're pretty much going down regrettably. But looking at the options, 819,000 in calls, 261,000 in puts. 47% of all the options being done are bearish in nature. From a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to be roughly around 7 to 750. And then bears are anticipating for it to be kind of sub 7 going forward into even next week. With today being Friday, this is open interest. So if Opendoor for whatever reason is able to close above 7, then you could see a nice little pop come next week, because there is 17,000 at the $7 strike price, 39,000 at the 750, and then 40,000 at the 8. If, let's say, the market does start to recover, anticipate shorts to try to suppress Opendoor below $7, because shorts as well as market makers have a financial interest in having most of this expire worthless. I know I bring up a lot of information in these types of videos, kind of just throw it all at you. If you ever have questions, feel free to drop a comment in the description below. I'll try and kind of bring it up and answer it there. Or if a lot of people have the same type of question, I can actually bring it up in a following video. But aside from that, with it at 691, it is trading right now between this S1 and this S2. So 692 is going to be that key pivot. That is that S1 right here. So best case scenario, Opendoor does close above that. Aside from that, you have 725 as the next strong target, and then 671 being the next strong support. So right now, I think the broader market is just unsure about what is coming next. So we'll kind of wait and see how everything does play out. As I've mentioned in the past many times, if you do believe in Opendoor, take advantage. Don't listen to all the kind of noise in the broader market, and dollar cost average. That seems to be the best thing that you can kind of do bigger picture. And plus, even though institutions are selling, they don't know anything more than you or I. They're just speculating on potentially what might be coming next. And unfortunately, a lot of institutions tend to kind of act too fast. So I think a lot of them might be kind of acting based on Broadcom's earnings, in my opinion. But aside from all that, quickly going over here on the actual chart, it's not looking too great. I see a lot of individuals kind of posting about Opendoor, how we're going to see a massive breakout. Technicals don't really signal that. So right now we are below the 10-day moving average, signaling that we're kind of losing a little bit of momentum. The next strong point is going to be that 100-day moving average, which is at 640. Looking at the stochastic RSI though, it is at 44, so arguably a little bit oversold. So again, if Opendoor does put out something concrete, let's say some updates, AI or whatever related, operational updates, you could see a nice little pop because of that. But a big deal for Opendoor is going to be that 50-day moving average. It's really failed to close above that pretty much since one solid month ago, since November the 14th. So from the technicals, it kind of doesn't look too great. From the market position though, you do see a little bit more willing buyers, but that's more oriented towards around that 650 mark, and then a lot of willing sellers from like 720 down. So not necessarily the best. Aside from that though, you see a lot of kind of articles just kind of talking about Opendoor's technicals. This one right here, Eric Jackson names Nextdoor stock his new 10 bagger, and that's again, not to always speak negatively of Eric, but way too many people love him, but he is all over the place. He tried to be a roaring kitty, but he has, I don't know, ADHD, and he's honestly is all over the place. So unfortunately, the cult-like type of mentality is kind of falling by the wayside. So whatever 𝗪𝗧 management is doing, I think is probably the right thing to do, because Eric, as much as he's good at picking very speculative stocks and kind of moving higher, or at least causing them to move higher, he's just not in the right roaring kitty type of mindset. So let me know your general thoughts on Opendoor. Are you buying? Are you selling? What are you generally doing with Opendoor? Where do you see things going on a side note? And what do you think the next big catalyst is? Because clearly the market doesn't truly care or believe that rate cuts are going to be coming down the pipeline as much as 𝗪𝗧𝗛𝗧 kind of signaled. So what do you think the next big thing is? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid on-point buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile too. Pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.